Hi there, and welcome back to my channel. So this subject came up about trying to make replacement parts. I had a friend of mine who, I actually did a video on how to cast a replacement part from a mold that you've done, but I didn't take video of doing the mold. He was here and we were walking through how to do it, and I thought about, I should have thought about videoing it. So Smooth-on has like a billion tutorials out there on how to do stuff like this. It's easy, it's quick. There's almost nothing to this. But this is a quick and dirty how to do this simply with very simple tools and materials. And even a Malcolm can do it. So if I can do this, pretty much anyone can. I need about 8 or 9 of these barrels for a dyno I want to do, and I get 2 of these in a kit that's really expensive. You can't get these as bits, so I am not selling them. I'm not making these to sell. I'm making these for me. So I'm going to make a mold so that I can have more of these parts. A lot of people will use Lego bricks and things like that for their molds and things like that. I've got like boxes and boxes and boxes of old gaming cards, and this is what I'm going to use. I use gaming cards for to make my frame. I basically make a box out of gaming card, and then I do this. So what I'm going to look for, what I'm going to do, quite literally, is just take a pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut a straight edge here because it's kind of important. You'll see why in a moment. And then how tall. So I want to make a, how tall does the thing need to be? So if I just go pretty much like right down the middle, say about here, that'll be perfect, right? So that's how tall my frame needs to be. So what I will do is, so now I've done that. And what you want to do is make it so you've got space. So your mold needs to have enough rubber on the outside to maintain the shape. If it's really paper thin, then your mold won't hold its shape. So, and it'll deform and you won't get a good part. This, I'm only going to leave a little bit off the top here for that mold to fill up, but I don't, so I could have just, cut it and left it that tall and poured until I filled. So let's do that. Instead of doing that, let's just do it the easy way. So snip and snip. So now I have straight edges and, in theory, 45-degree corners. So if that's my mold, or if that's my brick, and matter of fact, it fits right in that 1-inch square. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to fold that. And ideally, you'd take a straight edge, and I'm looking to see if I have one right at my hand, and I don't, so I will just use this. I'm going to fold it. And so this is me cheating, and I'm doing this quick and dirty. I'm not doing this. There are more efficient methods of doing this. I am, for the most part, just cheating. And here's what we're going to do, guys. It's pretty simple. We take one of our angles, and we grab a hold of a glue gun, and we want to glue this to a base. And eventually you're going to want to make sure that this is liquid proof, or liquid tight. So you just go along here and do this. Now, since this is going to be tall, and I'm going to have a little bit of challenge reaching my fingers down in, I'm going to do this. I'm going to glue this thing in place right now. I'm going to go ahead and place my part in where the mold's going to be. Now, how you do this is important. Understand that when your mold is done, this is your surface area. So you're going to be pouring from this point up. So how you put your piece in there is important, because that will determine how the the rubber or the silicone, your plastic, there we go, that's what I'm looking for, that will determine how your plastic gets into the part. There's all kinds of tutorials out there on how to figure out and how to make sure you have a good mold, how you have good pieces, how you have undercuts, things like that, okay? So, you know, if I wanted to do one of these, you know, if I wanted like a whole bunch of tires, they'd end up being, I'd end up having, you know, lack of detail here. So you can see I'm going to have no detail on that piece, but that's the part of the piece that's going to be on the ground. So that's all that matters. Anyway, there's a billion tutorials out there on how to do that. I don't think I need, or you need me to go through those as well. So now what I'm doing is I'm making the other part of the mold. Right? So now the smaller this is, the better. So the smaller I make this, the less rubber I'm going to need. So as I look at this, that was going to waste a crap ton of rubber. So, and so I'd like to say I did that on purpose, but I did that because I was rushing, I wasn't thinking. So really I only need that much. I only need that much. So that's where I'm going to glue this. So I'm going to put that right there. So I've tailed that up. I'm going to put this back in. Let's do this again. And let's put that there. Okay. So I'm going to have somewhat thin walls, but I don't care because it's going to be solid enough. The rubber is going to sit up solid enough, or solidly enough. So I'm going to have that go there, and then now looking at this, you see how this is, I can cut this down to there. So we'll cut this guy down to here. There. So now, I actually can cut this guy back a bit. And what I'm doing is I am trying to minimize the amount of rubber that I have to mix. Okay. So now what I have, and let me get the light here so you can see. So that's how much room I have inside my mold. Okay, so that will give me enough rubber to cast what I'm after. So with that down there, now I take, again, go back to my glue gun, and I just slap in a little bit of glue to get this in place, and then we're going to go walk around this. So I've got that glue there. So I'm going to make sure that, it's not all nice and sharp and clean and right angles and stuff, but I don't care. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going down, and now I'm sealing it. I want to make certain that this is sealed, and I am running out of glue, so we got to put more glue, put another stick in, I think. So, and now what I'm doing, and I probably overdo this part, but there's nothing more upsetting than seeing expensive rubber leaking out of your mold because you didn't seal it. So, and now I'm just going to go up this side, and all I'm doing is I'm holding it. I'm using my hand to hold this together so it's tight, and the glue is going to form a seal. That's a little bit more. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom all the way around, just to make sure that I am sealed up. And it doesn't hurt to have extra glue there. So, there. So now, I'll just unplug my glue gun. Sit it there. Okay. So there. So I'm a little, so yeah, you can see light, but the glue is solid all the way around. It's not going to leak, which is what I care about. So now I'm going to give that a chance to cool off. And I'm also going to set up the cast. Now, like I said, you'll see here it's kind of close to the edge, and here it's kind of close to the edge. So those walls are going to be a little bit thin, but because this is just going to be a block of rubber, when I pour this, it will be easy. I won't deform it. I just have to be careful. Something like this, I would do the same thing. I'd make a little mold, and I would cast this down like that. So I'd have this surface area, and I'd be pouring in from this side here. So I'd have no detail on this side. For me, what I would use this for, this would be tires just laying around on a junkyard, which is what I would want that from if I was going to do that. So that would be fine. Again, with this barrel, I don't care about the bottom piece because obviously the bottom is going to be sitting on the ground. So now with that done, I've made my little mold case, and I don't have Legos. I'm not going to go out and buy Legos just to do this. So that's my trick. Is just use. I don't know where these cards came from. They were a game that were out there for God knows who long. But playing cards work too. And they're super cheap, which is kind of what my point is. So now I'm going to cut and go over to the other part of the bench where we are going to pour some rubber, and we'll be back. Okay, we're back. So now we're going to pour, and I'll give you a quick, again, Smooth-on has a billion products. There's a whole ton of products out there to do what we're doing. It all depends on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to make, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So here's a similar type of block mold for what we've done before. Gosh, I can't even remember what this was. This is a head from a battle mech that I was working on. So this is the Axeman, so the Hatchet Man kit that I did. This was a piece of that. You can see how this was done. This is where the piece was glued to the card, and I just poured. This is what this stuff will look like. I love this stuff. The MoldStar 16 is what I use for the most part. So MoldStar 16 fast. This is what I use. I like it because exactly that, it's fast. You have a 3-minute work time. So here, pot life is 6 minutes, cure time is 30 minutes. So the short version is you mix this stuff up, you've got 4 or 5 minutes to get this in your mold, and then about an hour later, it's done, and you can pull the molding and start casting. So I'm quick. I'm about moving quickly and getting things done, because a lot of what I do is like this. It's like, crap, I want that part, and I'd like to work on that project today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today. So that's why I love this stuff. There is, go to Smooth-on, those guys right there. There's a whole bunch of stuff out there. If anybody has any questions, you want to ask about specifics, feel free to ask me. Ping something down in the comments below, and I'll talk about it. But the reality is, the information on that site, on their site, is great. There's a lot there, but just take some time to read. What you're looking for, the keys you're looking for, okay, is how long's your pot life and how long's your cure. Also, you want to look at your temperature. This they're not kidding about. The shelf life is a year or so. So, over time it'll take a while. Like this stuff I've had for a while. This will actually take it longer to cure than if I'd just gotten it. And that's part of the problem. So, I like the 16 again because of this fast. I like how easy this stuff works. Now, again, you can degas this. You can pressurize this. You can do all those things. This tutorial is how to do this stuff without doing all that extra stuff. You will not get manufacturer quality products out of that. So the results will be decent. And in my other tutorial, there you see the results of doing exactly this. So, all right, now I've babbled for a bit. God, I sound like Harry. So the next thing you need to do is you need to figure out how much space is in there. I'm going to eyeball it, to be perfectly honest. I'm just going to look at it and go, it looks to be about this much. But what you can do, if you want to, fill it with water. Fill your mold with water. Pour out what you get into a cup. So pour the water in until it fills up to where you want the mold to be. Pour that water into a cup, then you have an exact measurement of how much you're going to go through. All right, you will know at that point how much volume, right? I'm going to eyeball it because I've done this and I don't want to wait for the mold then to dry again, because then I'll be back here again tomorrow. So I would like to do this today. So I'm just going to eyeball it. So I'm going to look there. I'm going to figure that much twice, right? Now I know that the volume of the thing in there is going to kick this up. So I'm figuring I need probably that. So if I figure if I pour that much water, or if I pour that much of part A and that much of part B, right, into my cup, then I'll be good. Now this one I will measure, okay? And I'm missing something, so I'll be right back. My apologies. So, forgot to grab this. So what I'm going to do, because these are at an angle, you know, you can't go, okay, right this spot, right, and then, you know, half again, because the way the volume takes up in there and because it's a different angle, that is not going to be accurate. And when we're talking about the amount of quantities over here, that's probably not going to work. So now what I do happen to have are a whole bunch of these little mixing cups. I'm figuring, because I was looking at this, that mixing cup and that volume is just about what I want. Cool, look at that. So I can now look at the mixing cup and go, there we go, you know, it's 30 mils. So, okay, great. If I want 30 mils, then I want 15 mils of A and 15 mils of B. So I could measure that. Now, let's assume you don't have these. Let's say you only have these cups here. I'm going to show you how to do that. So again, we're going to look at that and guess. I'm going to guess I need that much, so up to here. So I'm just going to fill it with water. So I'm going to fill my cup with water up to the amount I need. Now, the part I can't show you because I can't get the angle of the camera is I'm now going to split it into another cup to figure out just how much is half. So what I've done is I have poured up to this ring, this bottom ring here. So I've poured to this ring here. Okay? So what I need to do is figure out where is this ring. You know, where is half? Okay, so I'm going to stand here and I'm going to pour. I'm going to do this. I can't do it in front of you because I can't get the right angle, so I'm doing this off camera. But what I'm doing is I'm pouring one cup into the next until I can hold them side by side and see roughly equivalent amounts. And so now what I've done is I have poured this in and I have roughly equivalent amounts. So now I will put this down on my flat surface and I'm going to mark this. Now you need to mark this clearly to where the bottom of that, sorry about that, to where the bottom of that liquid is. So it's a fat line that you're drawing on your cup. But what you're going to do is you're going to pour to the bottom of that fat line. Okay? So you see what I mean? So now, that's where that water goes. It goes to that point. So then I pour the rest back in. And I'm going to make sure that my other line is accurate. And it is. So what I've done is I'm also going to mark it, although I used the gradients on the cup to tell me. So now where's the other cup I was using? So now I'm going to pour all my water out. I can show you. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour part A into this cup till it gets to the bottom of this line here. Then I'm going to pour part B into the cup until the whole mixture comes up to the bottom of this. This way I don't need to have rubber into two cups, and I'm not going to lose rubber because stuff sticks to the sides, you know, and all that stuff. Now you can take a kitchen roll, real quick. Dry this off because that's what you do. Now, you will notice I am wearing gloves. This stuff's sticky, it's nasty, it's dirty, makes a mess. So we're dry. Now, what I'm going to do is, normally I would stir this up. I've already stirred this up ahead of time, so you don't have to see me doing that. I would recommend, if you have new ones, you do take a heavy stick and stir them up. Okay? So now I'm going to do this. I am currently kneeling down, sort of off camera here. Slide this like this here. There we go. So I'm kneeling down right about here, so I can pour this in and I can see where it's going. So I'll take my part B and I'm just going to pour. And I don't have much of either one of these, which is, again, why we're doing a little one. So, and then I just pour. And it'll take a bit. This stuff moves like molasses in January, which is fine. But that's okay. We're not. So you just let it pour out and you let it flow. And it's a little tricky because it pours like that to get it to get that measurement, but you're going to get it pretty close. So there we are. So now you can see that it's sort of gloopy, but you can see that it's gone to that line. So another tip, take your kitchen roll and then clean off that surface, because otherwise that's going to get all over. And it will also make a mess in your shop, which is something you don't want. Now, there's absolutely no odor to this stuff, by the way. This stuff is pretty much odorless. The Sharpie has more scent than this stuff. So you can do this anywhere. I used to do this on my desk. I'm trying to do it around food, although most of the stuff is food safe. So now I'll take the part A. And you could do this in either direction. You could do A or B. I put the blue on the bottom so that I can see when it's mixed, because if I don't see white, it helps me, it helps me know that I've got everything. So I'm pouring. There we go. Almost there. Now, the cool thing about this stuff, and this is the other nice thing about Smooth-on, is you don't have to be to the drop precise. And again, so I'm done there. Kitchen roll off my thing. So you can be close, it can be whatever. Some things are really, really picky. You can't be off by a couple of grams. This stuff is half and half by volume, and so you can see where it left the ring, so it's there. So now I have 4 minutes to mix this stuff up, and here's how we're going to do it. Take our everything, and we're just going to do this. We're just going to twist. This is all we're doing. Now, unlike the resin, and you want to scoop the side, scoop the bottom, because you want to make sure it's mixed. And this is why I do the white on top, because I can see the white. I don't have white hiding on the bottom. And I can see the blue. It's 6 1/2 dozen the other. So, and that's the consistency of the stuff, right? And this is what I mean why you don't want to pour it from one cup to the next, because you see how stuff sticks to the sides. You're going to lose rubber as you're pouring back and forth and whatever. So I've now mixed this up fairly well. I've got a pretty good mix of this. And I'm pretty sure, I'm going to give it another look here off camera because I can see it now. So I'm just scooping along the sides. I'm not seeing any white. I'm not seeing any pure blue. It looks like I've pretty much got it all. Now, great. I'm going to set this thing right here on another cup, or in another cup. There we go. And we'll grab my thing. Now, see those air bubbles? You're going to get those. Air bubbles cause problems with pores. They're your big your big thing. You want to minimize air bubbles as much as possible. This method, you're going to get air bubbles. That's why, like I said, this is not market quality. If you're going to try and sell pieces like this, I would recommend degassing and so forth, which means you'd use the 30-minute pot life or longer rather than this stuff. But this stuff is designed to be viscous enough and fluid enough to let most of your air bubbles escape. And what I'm doing right now, this helps the air bubbles come to the top. Now, time to pour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour down the side, and the rubber is going to just sort of mold around it. So I'm just going to take this, and I'm just literally do what I just said. I'm just going to pour it. And I'm not going to pour it right onto the part because that can cause air bubbles to catch. By pouring this to the side, the liquid flows around it and chases the air away. And that's how you avoid air bubbles in your surface. So as you can possibly see, because it's nice and dark down there, my mold rubber is coming to the top. And what it's doing is it's flowing around, making a mess here. And what it's done is it has flowed around. Let me see, I'm going to move this to where I have some more lighting. There we go. So you can see it's flowed around the part. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to finish pouring a little more in. Now it's pretty much as high as I needed it to be, but I'm going to pour. I've got a little bit more rubber, so I might as well just go ahead and pour it all in. And let this sort of gloop in. Da, 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 da. And there we go. So now my pour is done. I've set this down. Now I'm going to do the same thing I've done before, and give it a little bit of a pop to help some of those air bubbles come up. I don't want to do it too hard because I don't want to knock the piece off. I don't want the piece to come popping off and floating to the top. The other thing I will do is I'm going to take my stir stick. I'm going to put it in my cup that I used to mix the rubber. And you see how I smushed it against the side? I'm just going to let that sit. So when I come back to check on this, I can check on the cup, and it will tell me when this is all hardened up or not. I'm going to give this about an hour and a half to finish up, and then from there I'll be able to tell. I'll be able to come here. It should be done in about an hour, and then when I'm done, I'll come back and I'll bring you back and I'll show you how to demold it. Thank you. Okay, I'm back through the miracle of editing. It's only been a brief heartbeat or two for you, but for me, it's been about 3 hours. Wandered off, did some things, and I'm coming back. So now, I'm really crappy about it. So pick this up. It's not tacky to the touch anymore. It's tacky, but it's not undone. So, and that's actually one of the reasons I do this. So now I can peel this. And this shows me all the way down to bottom, it's done. The other cool thing about this is there's a little bit right there and a little bit right there that wasn't mixed. So what that tells me is I actually got a good mix. So right here, you can kind of see that there. But all the rest of this, it's all dry and done. So that tells me that, for the most part, this should be just fine. So, and that way I can check my rubber without checking my mold, because if I'd muck something up, this way I don't have to report it. So, now what do we do, right? How do we get that out? We rip. It's a Christmas present, yay! Really, that's what we do. Now, you'll also notice that there was one other thing I did not do. I didn't put mold release on this. And for the most part, you don't have to. Again, this whole video is about how to do this as efficiently and easily as possible. Yes, you can get mold release. It's $8. It's a spray can, you go and done. Is it better? Will it be better? Yes. For things that have a lot of detail and so forth, let's say, oh goodness, let's say I wanted to do this, okay? Let's say this was it. I probably would want mold release because it's got this undercut right here, right under there. But, I mean, truthfully, this stuff doesn't stick. It really doesn't stick to anything. I mean, unless you use something that's got sulfur in it, at which point, you know, you're fracked. Anyway, so how do I demold this? Because of how this is, I just peel it and pop it. Done. There's my mold. There's my barrel. And so I'll give it a quick once over. And I'm going to look to see, is there any mold stuck to it? Is there any rubber sticking to this? And there is right here, but I don't care because that's my pour spot. So because I see this is clean, I expect this to be clean. And I give this a quick once over when I look down in there, and it's fine. Now, if you look at, it's hard for me to maintain it in the screen. So if you look at this, a little bit of pressure here deforms it. A little bit of pressure here deforms it. But for the most part, the weight of the mold isn't enough to deform the mold. So making it this close to the edge, so what's that, you know, 4 millimeters or whatever, this is resilient enough for me to put that down on a table, and then just pour resin in, and it'll be fine. And I will come up with, you know, another one of these. As I look in there, I don't see any air bubbles, I don't see any gaps, and really, they're not going to show up until I make my first pour anyway. That's really where you're going to see. But if you, that's how I find out. If you absolutely have to find out before you do a cast, well, do it anyway. Okay. So anyway, that in a nutshell, folks, is my method of quick and dirty casting for, you know, how to do a quick and dirty cast using rubber mold material. Again, I highly recommend this stuff from Smooth-on, depending on what type you want. The 16 fast, like I said, this stuff set up in an hour. If you don't mind letting stuff sit overnight, the 30, the MoldStar 30, I think it's got a pot life of 45 minutes. If you're going to do spreadable, use a 305. Is it 305? I think it's a 305. I actually have it. Rebound, that's it. I'm sorry. Stuff. This is the rebound. This stuff actually, when you mix it up, you can spread it on. So when I did my Mandalorian helmet, the first 3 layers were done with this stuff. It's really easy, guys. It's really simple. It's very easy to overthink this and look at all that information on the Smooth-on site and go, oh my gosh, there's all this info, there's all these things you have to worry about. What are my weights? What are my measurements? No. It's simple. Really, and the only way you learn, honestly, is do it. This stuff, these portions are fairly inexpensive. I think this one's like 29 bucks. I think for the rebound it's like 31. So these are in the ballpark of 30 bucks for that much. It's 30 bucks for the pair. And you know, you can do a whole bunch of these with that. If you, and it makes sense, and it is wise to actually do the calculation of volume if you're going to do that. But it's how you learn. Get some small pieces. Get some pieces with undercuts. You know, get something that's got an undercut or some complexity. You know, let's say something like this. You got to figure out how would you cast that, right? You can see how this was cast, and I'm not saying This is not me recommending recasting other people's stuff, but I'm saying if you're going to try to make pieces, look at how they're done. And practice, try, play, because that's how you learn. Anyway, I hope this is helpful. I hope you guys learn something, or at least learn a trick or two, and that it's helpful for y'all. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments below, and I will happily answer them as best I can. But that's my quick and dirty tutorial on using Smooth-on MoldStar for making simple little emergency parts. Thank you.